Gotta talk about the Blue Eyes and Cool Tune experience I've had. Now make sure you guys smash the little crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. So we've been playtesting, or at least my friend's been playtesting Cool Tune, and I've been playtesting some of the new Blue Eye stuff, because, you know, having spheres, being able to bring out a Blue Eyes monster that can board wipe your opponent's field is pretty crazy, actually, and I thought that was one of the coolest things that we'd had. So I want to talk about we'll start off with Blue Eyes for this. So Blue Eyes, unfortunately, while we did get some new support for spheres, and it was a really, really cool support card for spheres, nonetheless, for the board wiping potential that it has, it does not feel like necessarily enough to be able to, you know, work out for the strategy. I think, though, the real winner for the deck is the new Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon can, if you are playing the Crimson Dragon in the deck, to bring off of the double spirit play. So the problem is, you have to be able to make double spirit dragon to be able to play the quasi-coldal. If you can, you know, play Quasi in the deck for the Crimson Dragon, bounce off to go into the other Crimson Dragon, then, you know, you could do some pretty cool things. And also, the fact that you could use the Nibiru token to also have a level 1 to make it. It does make me want to consider playing the Neo Kaiser Seahorse within the deck, just to have the level 4 that I can extend down with and work with. And honestly, it's kind of a crazy thing to say that, because I still think that extender is garbage for the deck. You're trying to keep Blue Eyes as streamlined as possible. You want the deck to still feel like, you know, you're playing the Primite package as the thing, but the problem is Blue Eyes Age has been showing for so long at this point that, you know, even with 2 new support cards, even being able to bring back Double Spirit Dragon and Ultimate Spirit Dragon back onto the field to make an 8,500 attack point boss monster, you know, even at that stage, it's not worth it to play. Though I will say, the one good advantage that Quasi does bring to the Blue Eyes deck is the fact that I can actually cycle these resources back into the extra deck. It actually returns 1 from the field back to the extra deck, which actually does matter slightly. We can now actually reuse that tool for the grind game. If we, you know, since the extra deck is so packed, I mean, you're already playing a lot of niche cards within the extra deck anyway to handle these more specific situations. For example, you know, being able to make sure that you have a certain card to handle a matchup, or, you know, maybe you've got to go back into the Ultimate Spirit Dragon again, you know, or you've got SPs, or are you playing the other Link 1, you know, the World Chalice Guard Dragon or whatever, the Almarduke or whatever it is, to be able to make, depending on the combo. You have to be careful with what tools that you are kind of setting the Blue Eyes deck up to have, because there are going to be some deviancies in playline that you're going to look at and you're going to go, oh, well, that's a problem. I can't exactly, you know, do this. And that's why, like, I am kind of on the fence about playing the Crimson Dragon stuff, because going second, your deck folds. That's the current problem with Blue Eyes, all right? I can tell you, playing into Cool Tune, that if you can win that dice roll and you can go first, you can probably play the game, people. It just comes down to, you know, unless you've got the heart of the cards on your side and you're throwing down a Fua and you're drawing into that new Blue Eyes monster, revealing it, board wiping your opponent, which, by the way, if that is the scenario that you are trying to play that card at, then shouldn't you be playing more than one of it? You know, if that is my plan is to go second, use the Mulcharmies to draw into all of this additional support, and then, you know, rely on that to clear the game, you're just dealing with some consistency issues at that point, and you're not really playing the deck to have it be what it is, which is consistent at resolving barrel and going from there. But that's my takeaway right now. New support is cool, but it's not making Blue Eyes any better at all, and that's where it's disappointing to see, man. I wanted the deck to be better. Now, let's talk about what I've seen from Cool Tune. My friends, I think, spent about solid 4 to 6 hours watching through videos, drawing test hands, trying to figure out the play lines with the deck, and trying to figure out what is going to be the best way to go about it. The Pot of Extra build and the Pot of Prosperity is where we've seen most players taking the list competitively. You gotta remember, we're at the end of 2025 right now. We've not seen any additional support for Cool Tune. We've not seen any, extra stuff, and that's a little bit of an issue. Now, also, Cool Tune is an interesting deck because it does have turn 0 interaction. It is one of the few decks that can actually, especially depending on how you've got it set up, especially some of the one monster and then jump into a synchro, because they all basically allow you to use another tuner in the hand to basically do a synchro summon. It's definitely got its merits from that point, but seeing Clip in the opening hand with the appropriate monster that you want to see in combination with it's not going to happen every single game. But I can tell you, in the interactions and times that it is going to come up, it is going to be a pretty interesting choice just to see. So that's a big one to take away. It's like you're playing a deck on the spectrum of, it has very good interactions because it can interact on turn 0, but at the same time, I've seen this same deck where, depending on how you open up, if I take away your normal summon starter, the deck can kind of crumble. But I mean, that's any deck at that point. Synchro Overtake is probably one of the best cards that your deck has going for it. Being able to, even Duelist Genesising to reveal into it is incredibly strong. You just there has to be a tuner down for you to access Duelist Genesis, so it's not a true starter. It's why builds are only gravitating playing one of it, because you're not really trying to use it all that much. It's like, hey, if I'm side decking going second, and I've got a lot more hand traps then in that case, it's fine. But in the case of that not being fine, well, it's that. And also, you guys do know the deck can loop Ash, right? That's why, you play things like Veiler, Ghost Bell, and Ash. You play all three of these power hand traps because they are tools that the deck can actually naturally recycle. And I can tell you from watching this deck kind of play, and when we did our Genesis Limbo tournament, watching Ash be a resource that you could just pull back and go, all right, cool, next turn, Ash again. And by the time the second Ash is usually resolving, it's pretty devastating. But this is also things you can do with Veiler. It's also things you can do with Ghost Bell. Any of the tuner hand traps are all tools that you can use at your disposal on that loop background. That's why, I think that this deck is an actual good meta challenger, because a lot of decks, if they have their starter shut down and they go to set up their next round of it and you're able to cut them off again, there's not a lot of decks that can really recover from being bonked on the head twice. That's why Cool Tune seems like a very good deck. Recursion of resources, turn 0 interaction to be able to set up. The level modification on things also messes up certain play lines. You might not think it, but making sure that Rizel is not a rank or level 4 to go down the combo line. Hilarious, actually. It is very, very interesting just to kind of see what you're working with there. So all my thoughts here for Cool Tune are, from what I've seen from the playtesting and the setup and interactions, the turn 0 doesn't happen as much as you would think. The deck looping the resources is a very real problem, but also Loudness War being able to just randomly rip things from the extra deck with the toolbox that it has is a little bit problematic. Hey, at least the extra deck rip that the deck has is random. Because if it was actually them peeking into the extra deck and getting a rip, oh my, it'd be frustrating. So I think the deck does. The deck is a deck that requires a lot of playtesting to get down, but I think if you can play the deck very well, I think you're not going to have a problem. So please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons! Thank you! Ah!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.